Limbus Company, the game where you slaughter hundreds of people and monsters just so you can listen to Don Quixote yap.
Beach volleyball!
Well, whether you agree with that or not, it can't be denied that each member of this elite mercenary group has a unique identity and a complex past. But have you ever wondered how likely are they to commit war crimes? You know, stuff like bombing civilians, starving people, sexual assault and similar silly pranks. Well, today we're going to find out exactly that through science, so let's get right into it. First of all, we have Sinclair. Now this guy is a little bitch-ass pussy-twink fanboy. Okay, I'm sorry all Sinclair fans, but somebody had to say it. Not only does he sometimes get tossed around by sinners and practically everybody else, but he also got bullied and manipulated by a girl in school, and that eventually led to him giving her the key of his basement, which led to her basically becoming a medieval Hitler, which massacred dozens of people just because they had robot parts. But also, I don't really blame him for folding to Kromer. Like, imagine her just gripping you and pinning you down with the nails, and you know, because that's a cool boss fight at the end of Canto 3. Yeah, that was such a cool battle, I know, guys. Yeah, even though this guy might be a golden retriever, he is still responsible for a genocide, and considering he has many psychopath identities, I would say there's definitely possibilities for him to commit war crimes. But in his current form, I don't think he'd actually do any unless manipulated into doing them, but hopefully he learned his lesson by now. Next up, we have Salt. Now, on the first glance, you may think he's just a more ripped and stable version of Yi Sang, as he isn't quite of an talkative fella and always talks in a calm, calculated, almost robot-like demeanor. But I have no doubts that under this mask lies a very wise and cool person. That said, if ordered to, he will not only execute a war crime, but also do it in the most precise and efficient way without any issues or moral dilemmas. And considering how one of his identities tortures the shit out of a person just because a crazy guy wrote it in his book, you can only assume that he has no limits when it comes to committing brutal crimes. You can only fear what this guy will do if he was given a high-grade militant position. Hey Salt, so we just captured this town, but processing all of the prisoners is kind of a pain in the ass, and with the rent prices being out of control, we can't really afford it, you know. Can you like deal with it optimally? It will be done so. Next up we have Otis. She's a professional soldier and we don't actually know too much about her backstory, as not only is her Canto not out yet, but her past is straight up classified, which I mean doesn't really work in her favor for this argument. Come on Project Moon, you've gotta release the Otis files eventually. Anyways, judging by her personality, I don't think she will be exactly interested in committing brutal crimes. But equally so, she probably wouldn't hesitate in doing them if it granted her a strategic advantage in a war or a mission. Or if you know, Dante asked her to do it. Ah, manager, your sharp tactical mind never fails to disappoint me. Of course I'll have the children thrown off. After all, you never know if they could be spies or have secret explosive devices in them. We should always be on high alert in the deepness of this enemy territory. Next up we have Faust. Will this sleep-deprived nerd commit war crimes? Well, that's a great question. Now, considering her vast knowledge, she must be very aware of the horrors and the consequences of them. Or well, for the most there's none, especially in a world as crazy as the one of the Project Moon. Anyways, I don't really think she'd be personally interested in doing them, but if she was ordered to, after her calculating that they're the most optimal solution or strategy, she probably wouldn't mind. Especially considering how she's paid for assassinations of various T-Corp investors and just claimed credit for all of their blueprints. So yeah, she's definitely not a stranger to playing dirty if it's beneficial, and if it came to her being in court, she'd probably manage to gaslight the judge, considering she has voices in her head telling her information from a massive library of knowledge. So don't let her calm and nerdy attitude fool you. She will most definitely commit war crimes if it was the mathematically optimal solution. Next we have Don Quixote, our favorite fighter of justice that has a hidden Super Saiyan side. Will she commit war crimes? Ah, hell no. Unless she'll be doing them on some villains that committed them, so she thinks she needs to equally pay them back or something like that. Anyways, this is the same person, by the way, who sorted a fight in an extremely secure checkpoint guarded by immortal guards just because she couldn't stand some people being treated badly. Don Quixote is the type of girl to cry after squishing a snail. If you told her to bomb civilians, she'd probably rather die than comply. Sure, she's got some pretty mean identities, but that's not really enough to outwit her truly good personality. So will she commit war crimes? Nope, in fact she'll probably do negative war crimes, if that's even possible. So yeah, because she's special, she can have a special tier. On the complete contrary, next up we have Ryoshu. I mean, first of all, can we just look at her for a second and think, does this seem like somebody who'd commit war crimes? The text on her blade roughly translates to losing oneself in incoherent agonizing cries, and she literally doesn't stop smoking for even a second throughout the whole game, like there's no way she doesn't get lung cancer by the time the final counter releases. Anyway, throughout the whole game it's also pretty obvious that the only thing she seems to enjoy doing is killing people, and is hostile to basically anyone she talks to, that is, if she can even bother talking instead of just talking in riddles. Come on, surely I'm not the only one who has no idea what she means half of the time. Considering this lack of communication and the fact her Canto isn't out yet, we can't know too much about her core personality or past records, but from what we've seen so far, it's pretty logical to conclude that not only will she commit 4 crimes, but she will commit them daily and for as little as a pack of cigarettes. So yeah, she can go to the highest tier. Next up we have Yi Sang, the Ideal. Now this guy has to be the most depressed guy in the whole game. He was basically depressed from the start, but then really enjoyed cooking up inventions in his League of 9 literatures, which then got betrayed and he became depressed even more. Anyways, Yi Sang just straight up does not care, nor will he have any reason to commit war crimes. He literally says that his greatest moment of despair was realizing he can't kill himself due to Daddy Dante's ability to instantly revive him. So yeah, he has no reason to live, especially not to commit war crimes. Next up we have Rodion. Now sure, she's a gambling addict who loves money and doesn't care about rules or consequences, but I don't think she's an actually evil person. She's overall pretty chill and even lazy, but what is known of Rodia's history shows a strong commitment to her morals and no tolerance for hypocrisy. She's so strong-willed in her kindness to the point of cutting off the person she grown up with out of disgust for his inability to act out on the ideals he preached. So whilst she isn't innocent, I really doubt she'd go out of her way to genocide people, and even if ordered to, I'd say she wouldn't just quietly accept it. On the other hand, if you bribed her with like 3 barrels of rum and a bit of money alongside a VIP casino membership, then I mean, who knows what could happen. But yeah, by herself she will not commit war crimes. Next we have Ishmael. She is probably one of the most stable sinners of the bunch and is generally pretty reasonable. Or well, that is if we ignore that she was bloodlust crazy for a whole canto and couldn't wait to kill Ahab, only to then spare her in the end cause she will now charge her own path. But yeah, not much to say about her. She by herself will have no reason to commit war crimes and still has enough humanity in her to not do it even if she was bribed, so GG. Next is Heathcliff. He's the complete opposite of Ishmael. Oi mate, reasonable, what does that mean? Well, since ain't nobody gonna tell me, I guess I'll just have to bash its skull. Heathcliff is the ultimate stereotypical angry emo character, but then also I don't really blame him. He had no family until rich people adopted him, only to then rage bait the shit out of him and treat him like he's worthless. Then a lot of sad drama romance happened and one version of him decided to transcend universes only to kill each version of himself. Anyways, to not spoiler too much, this guy's a complete lunatic but for completely fair reasons, and I honestly respect that he often stands on business when other sinners are too much of soy boys to say anything. Now I shall probably stop being his fan and answer the question, would he commit war crimes? And the answer is absolutely. It doesn't matter if you paid him or will he need to find a personal reason. Anyone who played this game knows that Heathcliff will 1000% commit war crimes eventually and therefore will go to the highest tier. Next up we have Gregor. Now considering he's a war veteran of a faction that mutates people with bug-like parts for greater combat, God knows what he committed during his military career. But then also, despite being the most respected commander, he did desert his unit, so he doesn't strike me as a particularly bloodthirsty person. And throughout all of the encounters we see of him, he does seem pretty reasonable and content despite having a permanent bug arm. So will he commit war crimes? Well, right now probably not. He's old and experienced enough to know better, not to mention his PTSD will most likely prevent him in doing any kind of war activities. That said, whilst he wouldn't do them now, it's very possible he did them in the past, but that's not something we can know nor something we should care about, so yeah, he wouldn't commit war crimes. And the last but not least, we got Hong Lu. Now this guy's a monk, a curious cat, and a slightly spoiled rich kid that knows how to fight all at the same time. I mean, there's not really much to say about him. Despite half of his family hating him or him being surrounded with people who grew up in completely different environments, Hong Lu holds no prejudice and is literally just calm and unbothered 24/7. There's no reason for him to commit war crimes whatsoever, and even though he may not be a villain slayer like Don Quixote, I'd say this guy is so calm he can go into the negative war crimes tier with her. Oh, and if you're wondering, Vergilius will most definitely commit war crimes, Dante's a little soy boy, and Sharon might accidentally run over some civilians, I don't know. Anyways, make sure to subscribe if you wanna see more Limbus Company content in the future and drop a comment with some video ideas. I would also recommend checking out my previous and first Lobotomy Corporation video. Shoutouts to my Patreons and channel members, thank you a lot for watching and I'll see you next time.